Picture this. You're in a room with a toddler. It's playtime.
Oh boy, setting the scene.
Right. And on the floor, right in front of them, there is this flashing, singing, multicolored educational robot.
The expensive kind.
Exactly. Top of the line stuff.
Yeah.
It dances. It teaches the alphabet. It does literally everything.
Okay.
But right next to it, there's just a gray plastic remote control.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't even have batteries in it.
Naturally.
So you look at the kid and you say, you can play with the robot all you want, but do not touch that remote.
I know exactly where this is going.
Which one does the kid grab?
The remote. Every single time.
Every time.
The robot is completely dead to them.
It's practically a law of physics, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we pretend we grow out of it, but we really don't.
We definitely don't.
I mean, think about it. A sneaker brand announces a limited drop, and suddenly...
Rational adults are lining up at 4 a.m.
Right. For shoes they do not need.
Yeah.
Just because they're told there aren't enough to go around.
It is the scarcity principle at work. We want what is just out of reach.
Exactly. So today we are doing a deep dive into the concept that defines this exact behavior. We are talking about forbidden fruit.
A classic topic.
It is. And I've got this stack of research here, the theology, the psychology papers, the marketing case studies. And honestly, my first big takeaway,
Yeah.
almost everything I thought I knew about the forbidden fruit is actually wrong.
It usually is. It's one of those cultural metaphors that has just drifted so far from its origin that the original text is barely recognizable today.
So here's our mission for this deep dive. So
Yeah.
we're going to figure out why we all assume it's an apple when the text never actually says that.
Spoiler alert on that one.
Right. And we're going to look at the forbidden fruit effect in psychology, like why banning something actually makes it perform better.
Which is fascinating.
And then we'll see how this pops up everywhere from ancient Chinese mythology to, of all things, modern makeup ads.
I'd argue this isn't just about fruit or even about rules. It's really about the architecture of desire.
The architecture of desire.
Yeah. Like, does the rule exist to protect us, or does the rule actually create the desire to break it?
Heavy start. I like it. Let's go back to the very beginning. Section 1, the origin story.
Let's do it.
We're in Genesis, Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
What is the actual setup there, according to the sources?
So it's a setup of absolute abundance. That is the part people often forget.
Because we focus on the rule.
Right. Adam and Eve are in a paradise where they can eat literally anything. There's only one single restriction.
The tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Exactly.
And the narrative is pretty standard from what we know. The snake talks to Eve, Eve eats, Adam eats, they realize they're naked, and they get evicted.
Classic eviction.
Now, if I go out right now and ask anyone on the street to draw this scene, what fruit are they drawing?
A red apple. Probably with a single bite taken out of it.
Always an apple. Always. But looking at the research by Adam Trzaskowski included in our packet, he points out a linguistic detail that honestly surprised me.
Oh, it's a huge detail. The Hebrew text is incredibly vague.
It is.
The original Hebrew word used in Genesis is peri.
Peri.
Yeah, and peri does not mean apple. It doesn't even mean a specific species of anything.
It's just generic.
It just means fruit. It implies produce or a result. It's a completely generic category.
So it could have been like a mango,
Yes.
a pear, a really nice avocado.
Theoretically, yes. The text is entirely silent on the botany.
Then how did we land on the apple? Was it just because apples are easy to paint? Or is there something deeper going on there?
It actually wasn't an artistic choice initially. It was a linguistic one.
Okay.
It was a pun, actually. We have to fast forward to the 4th century.
Right, to St. Jerome.
Exactly. He is translating the Bible into Latin, what becomes the Vulgate translation.
Okay, so he's looking for a Latin word for fruit.
Well, he's looking for a way to capture the theology, not just the literal meaning. In Latin, the word for apple is malum.
With a long A.
Right, and the word for evil is malum, with a short A.
Wait, they're that close?
It's a homonym. The only difference is the length of the vowel sound. So by translating the generic peri as malum apple Jerome created this permanent wordplay.
Wow.
You are eating the malum, the apple, which brings malum evil into the world.
That's incredibly clever.
It is.
It's basically a 4th century dad joke that became theological dogma for 1,500 years.
Essentially, yes. And it's stuck because it's poetic. It creates this perfect visual shorthand. If he had chosen a banana, the pun wouldn't have worked.
And our art history would look very, very different.
Completely different.
But historians and theologians have been fighting about this for centuries. If we strip away the Latin pun, what are the actual candidates? Because the research listed some options that make a lot more sense than an apple.
They really do. The strongest candidate, contextually speaking, is the fig.
The fig. Why the fig?
Think about what happens immediately after they eat the fruit.
Their eyes are open.
Right. They realize they are naked, and what do next?
They sew fig leaves together to make aprons.
Exactly. So the text explicitly places them near a fig tree. In terms of crime scene investigation, the evidence is right there.
It makes perfect sense.
It strongly implies they just grabbed the nearest leaves available, which would be from the tree they just ate from.
That tracks. But I saw another theory in the notes that connects the fruit to alcohol.
The grape. Yes. This comes from the Talmudic tradition.
Okay.
The logic there is that the fruit caused a radical change in consciousness. It made them behave differently. It introduced shame and knowledge.
And wine does that.
Wine intoxicates. It alters the mind. So the idea is that the forbidden fruit was actually the discovery of intoxication.
Which fits the loss of innocence theme perfectly.
It does. It really does. And then you have the wheat theory.
Wheat? I'll be honest, that does not sound very tempting. Like, oh, look, a forbidden stock of grain. I must have it.
Fair enough. It's less about the taste and more about the deep symbolism.
How so?
In Hebrew, the word for wheat is chita, which is linguistically very close to chet, meaning sin.
Oh, interesting.
But beyond the wordplay, wheat represents agriculture. It represents the end of the easy gatherer lifestyle in Eden and the beginning of the sweat of the brow farming life.
Which was their punishment.
Exactly.
So eating the wheat represents growing up and basically having to get a job.
In a way, yes. It marks the painful transition to civilization.
Now, there was one more theory in the deep dive that I found pretty wild. Terence McKenna's theory.
The stoned ape theory, essentially.
Yeah. He argued the fruit was a psychoactive mushroom.
Right.
A magic mushroom.
Right.
In the Garden of Eden.
He looked at the description, the phrasing, your eyes will be opened, the sudden expansion of consciousness, the realization of self.
Yeah.
He argued that sounds a lot like a psychedelic trip.
It's a fringe theory, obviously.
Very fringe. But I think it shows how desperate we are to pin down exactly what this object was.
Right.
We can't handle the ambiguity of it just being fruit. We really want to know what changed history.
So we have a missing apple, a Latin pun, and a basket of figs, grapes, and mushrooms.
Quite the fruit salad.
But honestly, what the object actually was matters less than the pitch.
Oh, pitch.
Yeah. I want to move to section 2, the marketing. Because one of the articles we reviewed explicitly analyzes the serpent as an advertiser.
It is such a fascinating lens to look through.
Right.
If you strip away the religious context and just look at the dialogue in Genesis 3, the serpent is running a textbook sales campaign.
The article breaks it down using the ACA formula: attention, interest, desire, conviction, action. Let's walk through that. Because the serpent doesn't just slither up and say, hey, Eve, eat this.
No, that would be way too direct. He starts with reframing.
Okay.
He asks, did God really say you can't eat from any tree in the garden?
Which is gaslighting. He knows that's not what God said.
Exactly. He is introducing doubt. He challenges the authority figure right off the bat. Then he handles the customer objection.
Because Eve pushes back.
Right. Eve says, we can't, or we'll die. And the serpent counters with, you surely will not die.
He minimizes the risk.
He completely dismisses it. So step 1, undermine the competitor, in this case, God. Step 2, minimize the cost.
And then step 3 has to be creating the need.
Step 3, create the need. He sells the benefit. He says, your eyes will be open and you will be like God.
Status. He's selling status.
Pure status. Notice he isn't selling nutrition. He isn't saying the fruit tastes delicious. He is selling an upgrade.
Right.
He is basically telling her, you are currently version 1.0, eat this, and you become version 2.0.
And it's classic FOMO. He's saying God is holding out on you.
And notice the targeting, too.
What do you mean?
In that ancient cultural context, Eve is the provider of food for the household.
Yeah.
He goes directly to the decision maker. It is a highly calculated pitch.
That's brilliant. But, the source material in the Bible doesn't actually talk much about the taste of the fruit, does it? That came later.
That is mostly John Milton.
In Paradise Lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Written in the 1600s. Milton retells this story, but he adds this rich sensory layer that just isn't in the original Bible text.
He describes the smell, right? Yeah. The savory appetite.
Yes. He made it visceral. Milton introduced this idea of vitiated taste. It's the concept that the fruit tasted better specifically because it was prohibited.
Yeah, He made the rule the seasoning.
Exactly.
And that is the perfect bridge to the psychology.
Mhm.
Because that's not just 17th century poetry. That is how our brains actually work today.
It really is.
Which brings us to section 3. Why do we want the no?
Psychologists refer to this as reactance theory.
Developed by Jack Brem, right?
Yes. The core concept here is autonomy. Human beings have a fundamental, hardwired need to feel like they are in control of their own choices.
Okay.
So when you tell me you cannot have X, you aren't just removing an object from my environment, you are threatening my freedom.
So I don't necessarily even want the object, I just want my freedom back.
Exactly. The physiological arousal, that sudden annoyance or craving you feel, is just your brain trying to restore its agency. And the fastest, most effective way to prove to you that I'm still free is to do the exact thing you just told me not to do.
It's spite. It's just pure spite.
It is the self-preservation of the human ego.
There's a case study in our notes that perfectly illustrates this, and I love this story because it is so mundane. The phosphate detergent ban in Miami, 1972.
It is a classic study in behavioral economics.
So set the scene. Miami-Dade County bans phosphate detergents for environmental reasons.
Very valid reasons. Phosphates cause algae blooms.
Right. But the local government didn't anticipate the human element.
Not at all.
What did the people do? Did they just shrug and buy the new eco-friendly soap?
No. They became soap smugglers.
Well, smugglers.
Yes, people were driving out to neighboring counties, loading up their station wagons with the banned detergent and hoarding it in their garages.
We are talking about laundry soap here. This wasn't illegal drugs. It was Tide.
Exactly. But here is the part that is truly fascinating. It wasn't just that they hoarded it. They actually started rating the soap differently.
Yes, the survey data.
Right. Researchers surveyed these smugglers, and people who used the banned soap suddenly rated it as significantly more effective at cleaning clothes than they had before the ban.
Even though the formula hadn't changed at all.
Right.
So the ban actually made the user believe the soap was objectively better.
That is the forbidden fruit effect in action. We infer value from scarcity. Our brains naturally go, well, if the government is trying so hard to keep this away from me, it must be incredibly powerful stuff.
We see this in marketing all the time now. Limited drop. Members only. The wait list.
It is weaponized reactance.
Weaponized reactance.
Yeah. If I put a sneaker on a normal shelf at a regular store, you might glance at it.
Sure.
But if I put that exact same sneaker behind a velvet rope and tell you, you can't buy this, you have to win a raffle just for the right to purchase it, suddenly you need it.
It creates a challenge, like, am I worthy of the shoe?
Exactly. And for the brand, it turns a basic commodity into a trophy.
Now, I want to pivot a bit, because we so often think of forbidden fruit as a very Western Judeo-Christian concept as Adam, Eve, and the apple.
Right.
But our deep dive sources show that this theme, stealing from the divine, or the intense allure of the prohibited, shows up in other cultures too. But the flavor is a bit different.
It is. Let's look at Chinese mythology. There are clear parallels, but the motivations are completely distinct.
Right.
Take the story of Gun and the Shirang.
Shirang is the breathing soil.
Yes, it's this magical, self-expanding soil. The legend goes that there was a massive catastrophic flood destroying the land.
Okay.
And Gun stole this Shirang from heaven to build dams and save the people.
Okay, so he stole from God. Just like Prometheus stole fire.
Yeah.
Just like Adam stole the fruit.
But look at the why. Adam and Eve ate the fruit for personal gain. It was curiosity. It was status.
Right.
Gun stole the soil for the public good. He was trying to stop a flood and save humanity.
So in the Western version, the transgression is selfish.
Yeah.
But in the Eastern version, it's altruistic.
Often, yes. It reflects a fundamental difference in value orientation, individualism versus collectivism.
That makes sense.
However, there is a Chinese figure who is much closer to the Eden narrative.
Let me guess. Sun Wukong, the Monkey King.
The Monkey King. He is the ultimate embodiment of the id.
He really is.
He was actually appointed to guard the heavenly orchard. And what did he do?
He ate the inventory.
He ate the peaches of immortality. And these peaches only ripen once every few thousand years.
Right.
He didn't eat them to save anyone. He ate them out of pure hubris. He refused to accept his place in the heavenly hierarchy.
That sounds extremely familiar. I want to be like God.
Exactly. He wanted absolute equality with the highest gods. So the forbidden fruit in that story is really about social mobility and rebellion against your assigned rank.
While we're on the topic of China, the research notes mention linguistic taboos.
Yes.
Forbidden fruits that aren't about gods or rules, but just about sounds.
This brings us right back to the power of words, just like the Latin malum. In Chinese culture, you have homophones, words that sound exactly the same but have entirely different meanings, and these create intense social taboos.
Give me an example.
For example, you should never, ever cut a pear in half and share it with a friend.
Which seems so counterintuitive to Westerners.
Yeah.
Sharing is caring.
Right. Not with a pear. In Chinese, the word for pear is lai, but li also sounds exactly like the word for separation or parting. So if you share a pear fin lai, it sounds exactly like you are saying we are separating.
So the fruit itself becomes a literal symbol of a breakup.
Precisely. It is forbidden not because of a divine law, but because of a linguistic coincidence.
It's like giving a clock.
Yes, exactly like giving a clock.
I know this one. Giving a clock sounds like attending a funeral.
Right. Song. So you just never give a clock as a gift. It's a strict social prohibition that functions exactly like a religious one. It marks the boundary of correct behavior.
It's fascinating how sound dictates reality in these cases. Okay, let's bring this right down to the present day. Section 5.
Bringing it home.
We have listeners who might be learning English, or just want to use the phrase sharper. How do we explicitly define forbidden fruit in a modern context?
In modern English, forbidden fruit refers to any pleasure or object that is desirable specifically because it is off limits.
The restriction is the feature, not the bug.
Right. The key is that the off-limits part is the engine driving the attraction.
Give me a concrete example.
A secret office romance.
Classic.
The person might be totally average, but the fact that you have to sneak around, hide from HR, delete texts, that makes it thrilling. The risk creates the romance.
For dietary restrictions.
Yeah.
The doctor says no gluten, and suddenly that dry, stale croissant in the Starbucks window looks like a Michelin star meal.
Yes. You didn't even want it yesterday. You only want it today because you can't have it.
Or in a corporate setting, unauthorized technology, shadow IT.
Right. Using the software that IT explicitly blocked because it's faster, it feels like a little rebellion against the corporate machine.
We see this pop up in pop culture everywhere. I mean, look at the cover of the book Twilight.
Yeah. A very literal interpretation there. Pale hands holding a bright red apple.
And in a teenage vampire romance, what is the fruit?
The fruit is the vampire. It represents dangerous knowledge. For the protagonist, choosing the vampire is choosing to step out of the safe, mundane human world into something evil or soulless, but infinitely more exciting.
Then you have The Handmaid's Tale. Blessed be the fruit. That's a much darker twist on the phrase.
It is. It strips the metaphor of all its pleasure and makes it purely about utility.
Right.
The fruit is the womb, the child. It commodifies fertility. It shows how the metaphor can be weaponized to control people, not just tempt them.
On a slightly lighter note, let's talk about makeup. The sources mentioned a campaign by Morphe Cosmetics called the Forbidden Collection.
This is interesting because it flips the script entirely.
How so?
Usually, forbidding fruit is a warning. It says, don't touch.
Right.
Morphe used the snake, the garden imagery, and shade names like Lust Potion to say, do touch.
It's the treat-yourself version of Original Sin.
It is reclaiming the narrative. They are actively selling the feeling of being Eve. The curiosity, the boldness, but without the punishment.
It's Eve as a girl boss. Eat the fruit, look great doing it.
Exactly. It's capitalizing on the rebellion. We love the rebel so much more than the rule follower.
You really do. And that leads us to the big philosophical takeaway from today's deep dive.
The grand finale.
Yes, the conclusion of our source material mentioned philosophers like Foucault and Lacan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, usually when I hear those names, I brace myself for a headache.
Totally fair.
But this point was actually quite accessible.
It is profound, but simple. The idea is this. We tend to think that the law exists to stop our desire.
Right. I want to drive fast, so the government puts up a speed limit sign to stop me.
Exactly. But these philosophers argue the opposite. They argue that the law actually creates the desire.
Wait, break that down for me.
Think back to our intro, the do not touch sign on the remote control. Before you put the sign up, the remote was just a boring piece of plastic. The moment you said no, you charged that object with energy. You made it deeply desirable.
So the law creates the criminal.
In a sense, yes. The prohibition draws a line, and we as humans are compelled to cross it, because crossing that line is how we define our own power. We figure out who we are by where we push against the boundaries.
That's kind of a trap.
How do you mean?
We create rules to order the world, but the very act of making the rules creates the chaos of desire.
It suggests that we are caught in a permanent loop. Without the no, there is no yes. If you could have absolutely everything, you might not actually want anything.
Wow. That is a lot to process.
It changes how you look at the rules in your own life.
It really does. So here is our challenge to you, the listener. Look around your life this week. Identify your own forbidden fruits.
Take a close look at them. Ask yourself, are you craving that junk food, that expensive gadget, or that complicated relationship because it's actually good for you?
Or do you just want it because there's a barrier in the way?
Are you hungry for the apple, or are you just hungry for the rebellion?
It is a question worth asking. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Until next time.